Hello everybody, Brad Johnson here, and I'm going to be channeling Adronis in this video, and Adronis is going to be talking about the Sasquatch races. We are here at this time, and we bid you greetings, and thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis of Sirius, sending love, appreciation, and gratitude to all who are tuning into this broadcast being brought forward through your internet collective consciousness. We have been asked by the conduit to share insight as it relates to the idea of what you would know as the Sasquatch races. Now understand that when you're looking at humanity, in everything that represents your primordial genome, it all flows back to the degree of having that particular type of inheritance genetically with the Sasquatch race. A Sasquatch race are indeed a very ancient race. They would understand that their particular connections have actually been more so in alignment with the planet that you would know as Meldeck. That is basically where their beginnings started in regards to, shall we say, much of their culture. The idea of Meldeck occupying the Sasquatch was quite fruitful, meaning that there were several different races of the Sasquatch contained upon Meldeck. You had Sasquatch in that sense, very similar to what you would understand as the Yeti, with white fur. You also had other particular forms of Sasquatch that had similar types of fur that you would find within the almond color, within the, shall we say, deeper dirt brown color. Also had others that were in that sense more of a black color as well. There were in that sense others that were more sandy in appearance also. So you had in that sense several different root races as it pertained to the Sasquatch. Now they themselves have always been a truly indigenous culture. They function nothing like you would understand your apes or primates in that particular way. No, they are much more human-like in that way. It is not the understanding that they have any particular form of, in that sense, similarity, or shall we say common ground genetically with the idea of apes or with the idea of primates in that way. That is much more of a different energy. The Sasquatch are, again, much more of a humanoid energy. Basically, again, understanding that their form differs from the idea of your common ape. This is primarily what is being said. But understand that the Sasquatch themselves have been stewards for planets, existing upon the surface of the earth, being able to work in different ways, and the idea of tribes and gatherings in that form. They also, in that sense, possessed a very great intelligence. They actually had language. Their language in that sense would be very similar to what you would know in that sense to your ancient Celtic traditions, or your ancient Sumerian traditions, or even ancient Chinese traditions as well too. But of course, the idea of Meldeck is that it began to fall in regards to different forms of polarized conflicts. This was actually in that sense through the idea of Meldeck turning into a planet of war that many of the Sasquatch actually migrated from Meldeck to Mars. From that time to which they migrated to Mars, Mars itself later on became a planet of great conflict. And so therefore, more of the ancient Sasquatch race migrated to Earth. 3 planets of the star system, your star system, contained the Sasquatch race. That of Meldeck, that of Mars, that of Earth. Through these particular forms of migrations, again, the intention for the Sasquatch was being able to create indigenous roots, to work together very deeply with the earth. As the earth again began to expand and other particular forms of life came upon the surface, the Sasquatch once again decided to go more into the underground. Because the whole idea is that there were many different forms of skirmishes that were taking place between the human races, basically at the times of what you would know as Atlantis, that they were becoming very highly technological, and they were basically in that sense looking for the idea of conquering more land, of seizing more territory. This again was something that the Sasquatch wanted no part of, and they therefore withdrew from much of the surface and wanted to, in that sense, interact more so with the Argothan network, going into cave systems in that way. Some decided to remain just deeply within the forests, and basically became, in that sense, more secluded to any other particular form of human life. Over the times throughout your Atlantean periods, moving into other civilizations, from the times of Egypt to the times of Inca, the times of Sumeria, the times of the Maya, etc., again, the Sasquatch race flourished. But again, they were much more in reserve to the idea of being, in that sense, working together with humans altogether. They knew that humans were a very young race, and that they were basically going through a power struggle, a corruption at this time. And so many of them, in that sense, again, decided to go within the caves, go within the inner earth, and many others, again, decided to remain secluded upon the surface within the wilderness, because they were still functioning as stewards as it related to their responsibilities, as it pertains to the forest, as it pertains to nature, as it pertains to working with the animals, as it pertains to energy. But when you look at a Sasquatch, you are looking at a third density intelligence. You will also discover that the Sasquatch itself work very diligently in spirit, which means you have basically Sasquatches that have reached ascension, and they have basically become part of living nature. And as part of this living nature, they hold very sacredly certain areas upon your planet with great care and great defense, ensuring that certain areas that are contained within your planet are not disturbed by man, simply because it is the remnants of their own culture. Much in regards to their culture, which actually had been, shall we say, hunted down at certain times, in regards to, shall we say, those who wanted to capture a Sasquatch, who wanted to, in that sense, study it, and in that sense, scrutinize it more scientifically. This took place. And indeed, certain Sasquatches were massacred in this particular way. And this was, again, all part and parcel of them being able to move more into the cave systems, not wanting to be involved in the idea of the grotesque test subjects that represented the human aspect of development at that time. So basically, those in that sense who were captured, and in that sense were forced to leave these sacred lands that they cherished, many of the watchers within spirit safely guard those areas even up into this day. You may discover that this is why there is not too many, there are some, but there is not too many of the Sasquatch sightings, mainly because much more of the Sasquatch can actually materialize themselves in form. They can actually, in that sense, will a body together, and actually, in that sense, interact together with the land, and even interact together with humans. This is, again, another particular archetype as it represents the Sasquatch race, that they work very diligently in spirit, that they are part of the nature energy that surrounds the environment, and that they are capable of being able to materialize themselves at will, that they are able to materialize objects at will. Again, this is what we are talking about, that they are a very sentient race. This is not looking at the idea of quote-unquote apes or gorillas or baboons. This is very much the idea that the Sasquatch race is what you would consider to be your primordial genetic archetype ancestor. The very large part of your genome relates to that of the Sasquatch energy. So much of the Sasquatch exists within you genetically. That is what they represent. But what is their relationship with humanity right now? What is it that they wish to work with us on? Well, understand that the Sasquatch, like many other races, are willing to work with humanity. Not all, but some. But basically, in that sense, they work together in a very tribal, indigenous way. You are basically, in that sense, being initiated by a Sasquatch. When you are noticing that they are becoming a very large part of your life, you will notice that they will give you signs, that they will initiate you in a certain way. And this is done in similarity to the reflections of certain tribal rituals. Often it can be the idea of, shall we say, seeing symbols before you. It can also represent the idea that they are laying down branches around you to offer you in the idea of the protection of their energy. They are also giving you blessings that you may find in regards to what you would know as Sasquatch talk. May actually be able to bless you with songs as well too. You may actually start to hear that there are, shall we say, heavy steps that correlate dancing. This is another particular form of initiation that they will do with you. If you have been in that sense seen in their eyes as being an initiate to assisting their culture. So this is primarily how they help, but again, they will only select certain individuals who they feel will carry on the traditions of their initiations, of their essence, to what the culture represents. Right now, again, you can discover that many of the Sasquatch do exist within underground cave systems. You can find that commonly, many different forms of Sasquatch can be found within the territories of your Rocky Mountains. They can also be found within, shall we say, southern areas of your United States. They again can representing the aspect of the Yeti that can again move into the areas of what you would know as Russia, Siberia, etc. There are also other particular forms of Sasquatch that exist within the areas of Africa, more so in the areas to which you would know as Southern Africa, in that particular way. There are also other particular remnants, not shall we say living remnants, but remnants of Sasquatch that you may discover within Antarctica as well too. As Antarctica represents this energy of a very ancient past to many of you. As we've stated, it does represent the land of the law of one philosophers. So there are, in that sense, remnants of the Sasquatch that can even be found there as well too. But again, as we've stated, not all Sasquatch are existing within the caves or the inner Argothan network. Some do decide to remain upon the surface, existing within the depths of certain forests. They too can be discovered, but some of them in that sense may actually be quite aggressive to man, because they are not interested in having that association. This is why when there is any attempt to film them, that they will often run away. They do not have any interest in that sense interacting with man at that particular point. Some again are very, very happy to work with you, some are not. So it is very much divided in that particular way. But we sense that within the years ahead you will discover that there will be much more evidence that the Sasquatch themselves are indeed a very real people, for in fact they are. You will discover in that sense that there will be much more connections to those that are utilizing their own intentions to search in a grassroots format as it relates to discovering more about the Sasquatch, to revealing them in this way. Much in the idea of your mainstream media has basically perverted the idea of the Sasquatch, feeling that they are nothing more than mindless beasts, or again, just different types of apes. This is incorrect. They are again, just as sentient, just as intelligent as you. They have their own language, they have their own culture, they have their own ways of living as well too. So they are very much like you. We thank you for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis of Sirius. Thank you again, and we now return to the conduit. We'll speak to you again as now is forever, and all is one. Goodbye for now. All right. Okay, thank you everybody for tuning in to this challenge. So again, for more information on this video, you can always drop me an email through the contact my website, realitywhisperer.com. You can also sign up for private sessions with Adronis, light circuitry attunements, there's digital courses on the website, free media, and a lot more at realitywhisperer.com. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you all in the next video. Take care, namaste, and may it be well with you. Goodbye.